You're listening to Disability Without the Detour. Join us as we dissect cases, discuss policies, and interview experts to illuminate the intersection of law and disability.
Welcome to Disability Without the Detour with Mark Aiello. Mark, thanks for being here. I'm really excited to talk to you today about who you are, what you do, and how you help your clients. But first, let's just get started with what your journey has been in the legal profession, especially regarding your specialty with Social Security, disability, and workers' comp.
Well, thanks, Sam. I appreciate it, and I appreciate being here with you today. My disability journey, if you will, and into this line of work is not something that I expected. When I was in undergrad, I studied business. I have a business degree, and when I went to law school, I thought I was going to do business or corporate type law. And in the middle of my second year, I needed a job. I needed to get some experience in the legal field, and so I applied to a firm known as Sweeney, Sullivan and Esper. And that firm specialized in Social Security, disability, and workers' compensation claims, as well as a few other related type issues. And so I took a job with them as a clerk, and I loved it. My first job was driving Mr. Sweeney around. Mr. Sweeney was the senior partner, and he had lost a good part of his eyesight with macular degeneration, and he lost a little bit of his hearing too. But he was as sharp as a tack. I mean, he still had unbelievable knowledge and abilities within him, but he couldn't see to navigate or whatnot. So my job, Sam, was taking Steve to court, driving to court with him, going to depositions with him, interviewing clients with him, and taking all the notes. And it was sort of an apprenticeship, if you will, a legal apprenticeship. And it was great. I loved it. And I loved being able to see that aspect of work, something I had never considered before that point.
I appreciate that because I think so many of us get our start with someone who is way further along, and we just get to tag along in some instances and apprentice, like you said.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and of course, learning from Mr. Esper also, it was just fantastic, and it just really opened my eyes up to the power of being able to help people in need.
Yeah, tell me more about that, and particularly, again, we're talking about Social Security, disability. I'm interested, what inspired that passion that you had for helping those types of clients?
Yeah, sure. So again, it's not something I had thought about as a younger person at all, but helping out Mr. Sweeney, Mr. Esper, and getting to know the people that we were helping out, good people that just found themselves in a bad way. And I remember distinctly to this day, one of my very first Social Security disability cases was for a gentleman that had gotten hurt on the job, and as a result, he had a workers' comp claim. But I handled Social Security disability at that time, and it was one of my first claims. And it was a good case, tough case, but we came out of the courtroom and we won, and I knew that we had won. And I told my client and his wife, and I'll never forget, his wife broke down in tears of joy, because it meant that much to them. They were in such a tight way, such a dire way financially, and that really it opened up abilities for them, being able to pay their bills, and getting some Medicare, some medical insurance. And as I think I was 25, maybe at the time, 25 years old, I didn't fully grasp everything that was happening at that moment with them, the emotion of it and what it meant to them for the rest of their lives. And when I got home, I reflected on it. I talked to Tim and Steve, Mr. Sweeney and Mr. Esper about it. And, from that point, it really just kind of grew on me and grew more and more, seeing that, the good things that we can do to help people in our community.
Now, I'm interested to hear more about what are some of these strategies that you've used that have been pretty effective. I know that you have a 90% success rate in acquiring compensation for Social Security cases. So what's helped contribute to that?
Well, I think really, Sam, it's just taking the time with people. we're not, this is not a churn and burn type thing, right? We take the time. I want to meet with people. Before COVID, everybody came into the office, of course. After COVID, it's a bit hybrid, but doing things whether by Zoom, Microsoft Teams, meeting folks in person. I like to get to know my client and their family. I always tell my client to bring in his or her spouse or significant other, parent, whatever the case may be, because I think another set of ears is always important too. But I want to really get to know my individual, my client, how it's affecting them, whatever their condition might be, how it's affecting their daily life, their relationships, etc., so that I can get a full picture of what's going on. And that helps me formulate the plan going forward. I want to have a plan in place for each client before we even start the case. And of course, the plan can be flexible depending on how things go. But that's what I think that's really important, is having a plan before you file the claim. And that way you've got a roadmap of what to follow.
That's very interesting. So if you could you paint us a picture, share a story of maybe even a challenging case that you've had in regards to this, and what you did to have success?
It's kind of apropos or ironic that you're asking at this point, because I just finished a case that I'm very proud of, very pleased that I was able to win the case for the client, but it was a very difficult case and a long journey. So I have a gentleman who's got significant and severe mental and emotional issues, some serious intellectual issues, and we filed this claim for him back in late 2019. And he's this individual that he can get very irritable, very angry, and as a result, he scares a lot of people away that have tried to help him in the past. But I knew that this man needs help. And so we filed the claim. And, frankly, when it got to the judge, you file the claim and it takes a while to get to the judge. We got to the judge and we lost, which I was mad about. He should not have lost his case. And I appealed it to what's called the Appeals Council, which is the next level up. Lost it there as well. And again, I knew this man deserves these benefits. He needs them. So we appealed it to the federal district court. And at the federal district court, the judge there, the magistrate judge there, agreed with us and sent it back for what's called a remand. You can either get your case reversed, which means they change the decision, or remanded, which means they send it back. And they send it back so you have another bite at the apple, or with instructions for the lower courts on what to do. And so the district court agreed with our arguments about why this should be changed and remanded it back to the administrative law judge, the lower court judge. And that judge agreed with our synopsis and the fact that this man should be found disabled and deserving of the benefits. And I'm very proud of it, Sam, because that took us 5 years. That was a very long and arduous fight and a lot of work that went into it. But I knew that this fellow deserved it and should have it. And I'm particularly pleased with that result.
Well, and I hear what you're saying, that not every client themselves may help their case in a lot of ways. And also that the way cases work out, it takes a lot longer than most people would think, or because typically they don't have reason to interact with the court system. And so I'm curious, maybe you could reflect a bit more on those past 5 years and how you helped maintain that relationship and keep pushing things forward.
Well, it took a lot of TLC, Sam, is what it took, because this fellow is challenging. He's a challenging man. And again, not necessarily, again, he's got intellectual problems as well. So intellectual, emotional problems. So it took a lot of TLC, a lot of counseling, not just the legal aspect, but life aspects, counseling to help him get through his days, because it's, again, no benefits coming in. It's very difficult to get by, right? So just helping him keep his mental acuity above water, making sure they understood we're not giving up. It's not over. It's the proverbial darkest before the dawn, right? I knew his case was good. I knew that his case was one that he should get benefits. And it takes perseverance. It takes a lot of drive. Some cases, they just fall into place and they work out beautifully for you right away. Others take work. And a lot of times, you've got to have tenacity. You can't give up. You've got to be willing to grind and kind of get into the muck, if you will, to get the results you think is deserving.
That makes a lot of sense. And I'm curious now, when it comes to Aiello Law Group, what would you say sets you apart with, we know you have an excellent track record of legal representation, but I'm thinking of families and individuals who really come to a point where they feel like they don't have anywhere else to turn.
Well, I think what sets us apart is that we take the time to get to know our clients. To me, Sam, the best part of my job is getting to know somebody else. I like that part. I like getting to know people and, sort of, and becoming it's not just an attorney-client relationship. I like, the friendly aspect of it, and I think that's what really sets us apart is all of my staff are, the people that work here at the firm take a real interest in the people we represent. You're just not a file number or a case number or anything like that. You're an individual, you're a person that deserves respect and deserves time and care for your case. And I think that's what sets us apart. And, everything I do, Sam, is, for the most part, everything I do is contingent, meaning I don't get paid unless I win the case. Right. So I'm taking a lot of risk when I take somebody's case on because I have to fund the expenses that are incurred, getting the medical records, et cetera, the time. I put a ton of time into it. My staff puts a lot of time into every case. And if we don't win it, that's a lot of work for nothing. So we're very motivated to win the case. And I'll take the time before the case is filed to tell somebody if I think it's a good case to file or not. I'm not just going to just take anybody willy-nilly either. So if somebody comes to me and they think they have a case and I have some concerns about it, I'll tell that person straight out. I'm not sure about your medical records or whatever. Let's get some information. Let me take a look at that. And there's no charge. If somebody gets me their records, they want me to do a case analysis for them, I'll do that. There's no charge for that. But to make sure that we're all on the best possible footing if we're going to go forward.
I appreciate that you bring that up because when I first heard about your success rate, at least with these certain types of cases, my first thought was they must have a really good selection process in the cases they take to have such a high success. And I appreciate you explaining how even with that complimentary consultation to see, does this have water? Does this hold water? Will this be a good case to pursue? I think that's still an excellent place for you and your people to establish relationships and build on those foundations.
Yeah, I think, it's important to build trust, right, Sam? You got to have trust between each other. Trust that if you're my client, I trust that you're going to be honest and truthful with me about everything going on with you. And you've got to trust that, my staff and I are going to do everything we can to help you. And I'm not going to blow sunshine somebody's way. If somebody's case isn't solid or if there's problems, I'm going to tell you what it is because we're all involved here, right? We all want to reach the same goal. And if I don't think that goal is obtainable with what we have currently, I'm going to be forthright about that.
Now, thinking again back to this hypothetical person who believes they have a claim and they want to come talk to you, Mark, what would you say in your experience has been some common misconceptions that people have about Social Security disability or workers' comp? in developing their case? And how do you help them alleviate those misconceptions?
Sure, sure. So I always hear stuff like, "Well, my neighbor's got it," right? And he's not as bad off as I am, or, um, "Of course I'm hurt and I can't do this or that. Then why don't they understand that?" And so I think that some of the common misperceptions are, what it takes to win the case, right? Everybody's got the kind of the backroom lawyer, or they have an uncle or a friend or somebody that went through it once before, or they know somebody. There's always those misperceptions that are out there. So I think that's really it, is what it takes to establish either a compensable disability case, social security disability case, or compensable workers' comp case. What does it take to do that? And so what we do, Sam, is we break it down, and I explain to each individual what I have to prove in your case. And so I think that's kind of there. What's the misconception is what has to be proven to win the claim.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, when we're talking about the law, obviously laws change and adjustments are made, and different things develop across time. And so I'm curious what you've seen happen, or rather, how do you personally stay up to date on developments in this area?
So obviously, Sam, we stay in touch with the latest case law. So we belong to bulletins, if you will, or we get bulletins about changes in the law, changes in case law, changes in statutes. I belong to some very important organizations, lawyer organizations, that help keep us abreast of any changes, both legally, or I should say case law, as well as statutes, and then procedural changes. As an example, I'm a member of the National Organization of Social Security Claimant Representatives. It's a big title, but we shorten it to NASCAR. And actually, my partner Cliff is one of the founding members of NASCAR. So this group is really important, and it keeps us up to date on the latest with Social Security, disability, and supplemental security income claims and changes. So that's very important. And then on the workers' compensation side, I'm a member of the Michigan Association of Justice. And so MAJ, the workers' compensation section, and that too keeps us apprised of changes in the law, statutory changes, case law changes, and we get that information weekly. So we're able to stay up to date and abreast of the latest of what's going on. And we're sustaining members of both, meaning that we support them. So that also gives us a lot of interest, or a lot of insight into what's going on.
That's great to hear. It's great to hear people who take a great interest in staying on top of things as they continue to develop and get the latest and greatest. Now, Mark, I'm interested, again, thinking back to the listener who may be someone, again, that thinks they might have a claim. What advice would you give to them when seeking legal assistance in areas such as this, Social Security, disability, or workers' compensation?
Well, if somebody's looking to hire somebody, if that's what they're looking to do, then I would strongly suggest asking some pertinent questions, such as how experienced that person is in that line of work, their success rate. Are there other areas of law that they also practice in, or are they dedicated to this particular area or that particular area? I think it's very important that the individual you hire, is you have a relationship with that individual. Some places that you'll hire, you may not speak with the lawyer on a regular basis. You may only speak to the staff or a clerk. And I'm not saying that those aren't bad places, but to me and what I do, I don't think it's right. I don't know how I can advocate fully and effectively for somebody unless I have some sort of regular communication and relationship with them. So I think that's very important too.
I think that's great. And one theme I'm picking up on from this episode, Mark, and what you're saying is, for you, it really is so important to get to know the person and to build a relationship of trust, And I'm wondering if maybe you just reflect on that a bit more and what it means to you.
Oh, it means, Sam, listen, I understand that when somebody's filing a Social Security disability case, a workers' comp case, personal injury claim, whatever it might be, they're trusting myself and my firm with something that's extremely important to them. I'm fully cognizant that I have many clients that are relying on me so that they can keep a roof over their head and food in their belly, and so they can get medicine. What's more important to that? They are trusting me with their life in many ways. That might seem a little extreme, but I know that if I can win their case, they can pay their bills, right? And going way back to that first case I was telling you about when I was 25 or so, that's what I realized when this woman was crying happy tears, good tears, is that, they were able to do what they wanted to do at that point, right? They could pay their bills. They could keep the roof over their head and food and medicine. That's powerful stuff, Sam. I mean, that's the most amazing thing to be able to help people with that, and it's a great responsibility, and I take it very seriously.
I feel it. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This has been Disability Without the Detour with Mark Aiello. I'm Sam Henninger. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow for more information like this. Please follow Mark. This has been a great conversation. Thank you again.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content from Disability Without the Detour.